Pre-Civil War era. This era was during the 18th and 19th centuries. Many new people arrived, and with more people came more social issues and policies. This era had many new policies and laws, and the movements occur, one of them being the temperance movement. The temperance movement is a social movement against the consumption of alcoholic beverages. The useless pleasures of intoxication and spending money and time on alcohol, and the immorality associated with drinking, especially in public drinking places, was the antipode of the accumulative ethos of entrepreneurial life. This quote by Sulkanen just expresses how people during this era did not agree that alcohol should be allowed in public or is a waste of their time and money. Relating to American social welfare. This relates to American social welfare because it was a social movement and because alcohol can lead to a lot of different issues for individuals in America as well. Binge drinking, abuse, child neglect, and health issues are all issues that affect social welfare and are issues this movement worried about. Another way this relates to American social welfare, another important reason is because poverty was very dominant during this time, as it is today. In poverty-stricken areas would produce or consume alcohol more often than the upper classes. This movement helped lessen the issues that came with drinking excessively, which in turn helped with American social welfare. How it originated. The temperance movement originated in the late 17th century to help cut back on the excessive drinking. It started originally because the amount of individuals showing up to work drunk was affecting the labor industry businesses. To the left are photos of people in the labor industry. Demands of the temperance movement. The main point of the movement was to lessen the acceptance of drinking, educate others on the effects of alcohol, and create new laws against drinking. They wanted to make it a beverage that was consumed little to none. The anti-alcohol and other lifestyle movements, missionary youth sports, family, etc., and of course the labor movement of the early century were reactions, certainly, but more to the misery and moral confusion caused by the change that already had occurred in the industrializing societies than to anticipated modernization. Issues this movement faced. The issues this movement faced were people did not want to follow this idea. Irish and Germans especially did not because drinking was considered part of their culture. Mostly men did not want to cut back on their drinking as well and continued to ignore the movement's efforts. How it began. The temperance movement first began from a physician named Benjamin Rush. He researched the effects alcohol had on individuals and their health and then proposed the ideas to lessen/prohibit alcohol. This then led to the American Temperance Society, churches, women, and other support groups to form, creating a large support system for this movement. To the right is a photo of Benjamin Rush. Underneath it states how he's a physician, politician, social reformer, humanitarian educator, and many more. I think that personally he was a great guy to start this movement because he had a lot of knowledge and background on health and what this movement could help with. Actions and results. The multiple support groups all did different things such as rallies, educate the youth, hand out pamphlets, and protests in order to bring change. As a result, this led to new religion denominations, as well as some towns and cities making different laws about drinking. The most important change that this movement led to was eventually the prohibition. The temperance movement changed views for many individuals, which helped society in general become more productive in the labor industries, as well as helped with the home life of some families. Many social workers worked towards gaining more help for families affected by alcohol during this time as well because they worked for the moral reform of this era and wanted to see policies made in favor of this movement. In June 2nd, 1851, the first law was Maine outlaws alcohol. The first policy resulting from the temperance movement was the outlawing of alcohol in Maine, enacted by Mayor Neil Dow. This policy outlawed the sale and consumption of all alcohol outside of medicinal, mechanical, and manufacturing purposes. The policy did drastically cut alcohol consumption, but eventually led to the Portland rum riot. Alcoholism today. In 2015, 15.1 million Americans had a drinking problem. In 2019, 14 million Americans have a drinking problem. 3 million of those are senior citizens. To the right, we have a graph showing the history of alcohol consumption in America. Policy on alcohol in the United States. Currently, the main policy that governs alcohol is the 21st Amendment. This law gives states the power to decide whether alcohol can be sold in that state, decide if alcohol can be imported to that state, how to distribute alcohol in that state, determine laws regarding the possession of alcohol in that state. The Federal Uniform Drinking Age Act of 1984. This sets the minimum drinking age to 21 and gives power to the federal government to use financial and tax incentives to ensure the states enforce the act. Up to 10% of federal funding for highways. Our discussion questions are: do you think that the temperance movement did not happen, that there would be different laws on alcohol consumption today? As well as, do you think that the legal drinking age of 21 is the right age? Why and why not?